Alright folks, Carlin Hicks back on board with you here. Sir Race-A-Lot now. Looks like we've had a car drop out. Was that Twindy? Let me break from the broadcast. It looks like the track has dried up quickly. Still some moisture on the track. I am going to see if I can get Twindy here into the booth. Yeah, I'll see if I can get Twindy here in the booth. Looks like he's out. At the track obviously still wet. We're going to get back, cycle through the field, as it looks like we've got Sig stalking Tiernizzle here through our brake. Got dry right there through the brake. That was extremely quick, and the room was not set up for that. It was set up to be a gradual thing, so a little bit of confusion there. You can still see some slickness on the track, obviously, but they're obviously hitting puddles through there. But rather quick dry out here at Monaco. If they hit some water down the stretch, this is going to change the course of this race, because these guys are on wet tires, and they're going to have to make a decision as to when it's time to go to dry, as the sun comes out and starts to dry up here at Monaco about halfway through. We're on lap 20 of 38 as Tiernizzle goes around, and Sig will pass him. I don't believe Tier is on slicks yet. No, he is not. But those are the only three cars on the lead lap right now. Sir Race-A-Lot, Sig Rosonico, and Tiernizzle, Aram Rusta, and Cali falling well to the back.
Looks like Tiernizzle's getting ready to the slicks.
He left Tiernizzle's into the pits. Twindy, you got your mic cranked?
I should be. I can crank it up more.
Yeah, crank it all the way just in case. And then just pull it back from your mouth.
Okay.
Alright, so what happened out there? What happened to you?
I to take the risk early and try to switch to the slicks before everybody else to try to make up time. And it just didn't work out well, and I was just a moving roadblock as it was before then. I was just able to keep it straight, unlike a lot of other people out there, which is why I managed to work my way up this second at one point and was third before I pit. I was just trying to take the risk, and it didn't pay off well, so that's what happened there.
Now, I guess I'll ask here, it appears like it dried up pretty quickly. Now, I know for a fact it was set to real time and all that. It's no accelerated anything. Was that an issue in the room?
I mean, it's drying up fairly quickly, but that's, it was still, I feel like that's just because, you know, the sun came out and the track started heating up really quick, and between, you know, it's a very distinct line that we're running, so.
As we got Sig in the pits, make the tire change. He's going to go to the slicks. If he goes to the slicks here, I believe it's a little early for the slicks myself. But we'll have to wait and see. He is going to the slicks.
If you can hang on to it, I think you can make up time with a little bit of moisture that is still on the track.
Now let me ask you this, having been in the field also, you know, we had discussed the weather. What was the take in the room on the weather? Were the drivers mad, disappointed?
It sounded like they were all really struggling even more, and a lot of them were complaining about even looser race cars, but that simply they were racing too hard on wet asphalt at that point. Because if you took it smooth enough, you weren't sliding too much. I think that it worked really well, and the weather was an interesting twist. That obviously some people took more advantage of than others.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I thought it would work out. He's going to definitely hit water here as we're on board with the second place Sig. probably some puddles here in the tunnel, and right there you got to be real careful with it. Yeah, we had discussed it. I hope that that everybody agreed, understood that that was a possibility. But I will say this is I was surprised not to see a red flag on the start after the contact right off the go. I thought there would be one, but they were green to go, and that was obviously the race director's call. But I was a little surprised not to see that. Did you get a view of any of that, or?
I don't know how it played out behind me. I got on the throttle and I got a really good launch. Aaron didn't in front of me, so I had to really check up. And when I checked up, Tier slid across the track and I nailed him. But I don't know how much that played out behind me. I don't know how.
Tier and Rosta got into the wall together, got tangled up a little, and Tier's been playing catch up ever since. But yeah, I thought there would be a red flag in that situation. Obviously, that wasn't the marshal's decision. But I mean, I figured some of the guys were griping and complaining, being there in the wet, maybe caught them by surprise. But they all knew that was a possibility. We discussed it for weeks ahead of time.
I didn't really. It looks like we lost another one. I think Rosta.
Looks like Rosta has retired, and we're down to 5 cars, and those are going to be the only 5 that can score. So it looks like everybody's going to have a decent points day here in the first race. I do believe, like I said, we're looking at a Camel GT race last night that had 18 guys trying to qualify. We had 20 plus in the Indy 500. I think it's just a matter of time before this series can wind up in the same place.
Yeah, I think a lot of it had to do, honestly, with the track. At least with the drivers that I know about, a lot of us aren't very fond of this track, so I think that could have a little bit to play. I think it looks like has Sir Racelot gone and grabbed the slicks yet?
That's an interesting question. I'll try to get on.
It's looking like Sig's starting to get making up lots of time.
It looks to me like, yes, Sir Racelot is on the slicks. Sig is starting to reel him in a little bit. Let me get on the track side camera here as we're on board with we're there with Sig coming through the hairpin. I will say this, as this series expands, as tough as this track is, and us North American racers have been here before because we ran a Camel GT race here several seasons back. And so I have run this track competitively. It's a tough track, but I can tell you Formula One racers right now, and some of the drivers in the field right now who are going to be watching this on replay later, this race ain't going nowhere. The Monaco Grand Prix is one of the most prestigious in the world. It's just going to be one of those you got to tough out once a season. You know what I mean? Definitely can mess with the weather and track models, but it's going to be here to stay. So,
well, I mean, it's not like it's a bad race. It's just a very difficult track to pass on and race on because of how narrow it is. Especially when weather gets in play here, because with how much it's sliding as it is, you just don't need any more variables on a track. Just thin. But yeah, I think this track makes a good race, and a lot of it comes down to pit strategy and track position, because if a slower car can get up there, it's very hard to pass them.
Oh yeah, we were noticing that when they were following you. We noticed that when they were following you. You were just going easy into the corner. Sig was overcooking it over and over again coming up behind you. And we were pointing out in the broadcast that Twindy's just, keeping on his line. And, if he gets up to him, I'm sure he's going to let him go. And, that's eventually what happened. But you guys would get too hard on the brakes trying to make a,
Well, a lot of what I was doing was I was trying to bait them into braking too late because they were trying to get into some of the corners deeper than me because that's the only way you could get in, and I was braking at nearly the latest moment I thought I could. So a lot of them were cooking it like that, and through the center I was going a little bit slower, and they were just, you know, off throttle, were locking up the rear wheels and spinning it around. So I was taking advantage of some of the characteristics of the car. And I was taking advantage of the tech package that does not look like a lot of people are using in this race. So,
yeah, absolutely. I don't see a whole lot of people using much of anything to help the car. A little bit of ABS here, and it's a tough car. It's going to take time for people to get a hold of it, you know, to get a handle on it. Time for the series to build up the demand and the interest from, you know, the rank and file drivers. We've got several of the major teams out here pretty much committed to running at least 2-car teams for this series, as looks like Cali's letting, Sir Race-A-Lot is letting somebody by. Was that Aram?
It looks like Tier Nizzle ran him back down. Get back onto the lead lap. Yeah,
good job there by Tier Nizzle. I'm going to get on board here with Sir Race-A-Lot. I believe he's definitely, it's tough to tell because with the track dry now, the lap times, but he's definitely probably slowing up. He's probably got a bigger tank than Tier Nizzle by quite a significant amount. But yeah, Tier Nizzle's on the lead lap again.
Tier Nizzle's got almost 180 liters, and Sir Race-A-Lot's up near 230, so it looks like when he switched to the slicks, he flipped the tank too.
And I've gotten word from SCL Control that there's time issues here. I'm not sure why. The qualifier will be, qualifying's an open session, but I'm not the race director. Aram is, so he would have to be the one to make that call.
From how it sounded in the race, I don't think he was planning on listening to the instructions there, and we were going to try to run the race to the finish.
We got about 10 laps to go. We'll see if they call it early, running up towards the close 8 minutes from the start of Winston Cup qualifying. I know many of you watching may be competitors. The National 300 qualifying for the Winston Cup Series will open at 3 p.m. Eastern, and then in 5 p.m. Eastern will be tonight's National 300 under the lights at Indianapolis in the Cup Series. As those of you watching want to get involved in SCL, we've been around for 7 years. This is our 22nd championship season. We run all kinds of racing. Check us out. You'll find all the links here in the video, website. PSN will direct you to the PSN community, and we'll be glad to have you out there. As there's still some water on the track, I believe the guys are okay with the slicks, but Sir Race-A-Lot with the lead he had there, you saw him just taking it easy through the little patch of water. I don't blame him for that. You've got a 45-second lead.
Yeah, it looks like out of a lot of the very slow corners, it looks like there's still a bit of standing water, especially near the rumble strips. But it looks like the rest of the track overall has dried up, so a couple patches on the straightaways, it looks like just small puddles.
Now we got Sig coming up on, I believe, Cali, possible lapped car. These 5 all going to get a good points day here, even in the top-heavy point system of this series. Like I said, 25, 18, 15, 12, 10 through the top 5. You have to finish to score, and these guys are all going to score. This is the first of 4 rounds in the first season's championship. Hoping to go to a full-length series next season. We've had some attrition. We had up to 10 cars in qualifying, some of them dropping out as we had track issues and a delay to the start. But this was the first race. We were going to have some tech issues to work out. Oh, we got Sir Race-A-Lot, went around. I'm back on board with him. Didn't catch it. He got it going. He's still holding 41 seconds over Tier. I think the story might be over Sig rather. Can Tier catch up to Sig? That's the big question there. As Cali's now behind Sig on the track.
Lap times, but Sig seems to be making quite a few mistakes considered a Tier. He seems to be keeping it pretty straight, so that's what that's going to come down to.
With the wet still out, it could be that might be enough of a gap to keep him pretty safe here, as long as he doesn't have any major incidents. We were discussing that earlier here on the broadcast. Sig's another new driver. We have the largest crop of rookie drivers in SCL history this season, as we made the switch over to PS4 after all those years on PS3. And Sig's another one who's very, very fast, the Italian driver. We really look forward to him becoming a mainstay, especially in Formula One. But he's shown incredible pace, but what we've seen on the track with him, as I was saying in Camel GT, little over aggressive. He has what us officials call public room-itis, where they're used to running 6-lap sprint races and, with a room full of knuckleheads. He's a little over aggressive at times, not by any means dirty, but you saw it when he was trying to chase down Twindy. He was putting himself in some positions where he had to get on the brakes too hard, where an experienced SCL driver would be in that situation going, I'm quicker than this guy. All I got to do is wait and I'll get my chance. And if he had been smart, he would have waited, lined Twindy up, and made the pass. But he wound up looping it 2 or 3 times trying to get by him because he was being over aggressive. That's something that you'll grow out of. And I do believe that, if not this season, I do believe that Sig's name will show up on the wins list in the Formula One World Championship. I do believe he will claim a Grand Prix at some point. I believe he has the pace to do it. And I believe he has, being an Italian driver, he has the interest at being a Formula One mainstay. But, you got to learn some patience. There are some other drivers this season who fall into that category. One of them is Twindy's driver. He speaks of it himself openly, Shano Kano. Shano's a great talent. And if I had room on JME, I would have went after him myself. But as he says himself, he does great in practice, but when it gets time to qualify, gets time to race, the nerves, too much going through your mind, all that stuff hits him. And but in Shano's case, as I said, he's already been on the podium this season in the IndyCar Series. I believe he too will find victory lane in the near future. So there's a lot of guys developing in that way. The gap is getting smaller here to Sir Racelot. It's down to 28 seconds.
Yeah, he seems to be overcooking it to a lot of corners, and I think after the race we're going to have a conversation with some of the drivers about the reset button rule, because I think I've been seeing it abused a little bit.
Yeah, nobody I think is going to get a penalty because we did clear them in the pre-race because of the tightness of the track, and we anticipated traffic on top of each other. We allowed them to use the reset button for this particular circuit, so we can't exactly get on them now for using it. But yeah, they're probably pushing the limits of what they're expected to be, allowed to do it for. But as I said, they were cleared to use it. We figured it would keep the race cleaner. But he's definitely a little off the pace. Sig and Tier running in the 124, 126. That last lap for Sir Racelot at 132. He's losing some significant time. But I believe he's got enough of a gap to where he's going to settle in.
Yeah, I think he's just trying to, I think he's just trying to milk it to the end. He's just trying to take it easy, make sure he doesn't let them catch them, and it could pay off as long as he keeps it going straight. It's usually a pretty decent strategy to use as long as you have faith in the car.
Absolutely. Sir Racelot's a good talent. We think he'll be a Formula One mainstay for a good long time. He does have some mechanical issues. You can see a little bit of the lag. He has DNF'd some races, but he's a great talent on the road courses. He's a great road course driver. I believe he'll be a Formula One regular, any of the sports car series. Tough to tell on the speedways. Foreign drivers have a tougher time on some of the speedway races, but he's got terrific pace. At the beginning of this race in the wet, he built this lead in the rain. And you can argue whether there should have been a red flag on the start. You know, I'll even go on record and say, as race director, I would have, but that's not to say that Aram or anybody made the wrong call. You know, those guys got into each other on the start, and you know, that's on them. You're not guaranteed to get a red flag or a caution in the international tour rules, which are pretty much green from flag to flag unless there's a major incident. But Sir Race-A-Lot built this lead in the wet. He went out right off the bat, took off. You know, he won the pole. Nobody can complain about that. They qualified in the dry. And, you know, I definitely had him as a pick. Go ahead, Twindy.
Yeah, it was kind of impressive, honestly, with how quick he pulled out to that lead in the wet. Looks like Sir Race-A-Lot missed the chicane.
He did appear to slow down.
Though, so.
Yeah, he slowed it down. He'll be clear on that one.
But yeah, no, he definitely was impressive in the rain. This lead is starting to come down fairly quickly though, so there definitely could be a battle at the end of this thing.
Yeah, we're looking at 6 laps to go at the line here. Sig is just gaining rapidly. We're going to get on board with him as he's chopping this down. We're going to take a look at the track map here. You'll see the arrow right there. Yeah, it looks like Aram's out and is not going to score. Only 4 finishers. You see the arrow right there coming through the kink. That is Sir Race-A-Lot. Here's the gap now to Sig. Only that far, you see, between those 2 arrows there. And this is getting interesting. I'm going to get on board here with Sig as Tierney.
I think they're calling the race.
I believe that they are calling the race, and it looks like Sir Race-A-Lot is going to be taking home the Monaco Grand Prix and the very first Formula One championship win. Let's take a look at the as he's rolling it around. Yeah, it looks like they are going to call the race with 5 laps to go, as Sir Race-A-Lot is going to take the win at the Monaco Grand Prix. He's rolling it around back to the pits, but this is going to be his day. I believe he's going to take first, Sig second, Tierney in third. Can't remember who's fourth, and then Aram in fifth.
4 and then Cali 5.
Yeah, Aram 4 and Cali 5 appears to be our final finishing order here at the Monaco Grand Prix. Let's go ahead, and if you could shoot him a message, Twindy, get Aram here in the booth, and we'll get a final word on what's happening here, as these front 2 cars are still rolling around the track. Try to get Aram in the booth with us and getting a final word on what the call is. All right, go ahead and crank your mic up, Aram, so we'll make sure that we can be heard on the broadcast.
All right.
And what's the call? Was the race called for time?
Yeah, we have that cup practice to get to, or qualifying here at 3 o'clock, so we decided to call the race there. I'm pretty sure the set, or the finisher order was already set. Overall,
I have Sir Race-A-Lot, Sig, Tier, Aram, and Cali as the finishers. I believe we could have finished the last 5 laps. I mean, we got 2 hours to do cup qualifying, but that's another conversation.
Johnny's complaining at me.
No, I got you. That was, that's the call that the president can make, and so we got running late. It's the first time we've tried this race. We got some things to go over in the meeting about it. I was telling the guys that it's just going to grow from here. We'll have to get a little bit heavier on the promotion with it, but I think that it was, we had a good field to start with, but we had some technical issues and had to, delay the start, but that's part of the growing pains of the new software. The guys are just going to have to learn to be patient. But yeah, before I sign them off the track here, as they're still rolling around, I believe, just getting in track time, give us your impression. What did we, what did you think?
I thought it was a bumpy race, to say the least. I'm not a big fan of the wet, so we'll have to talk about that. But overall, I think it was an alright night. I think we lost a lot of people due to time, because everybody had to go. I know Roast had to go to work. he got a call in. So we lost a lot of people on time. I think if we would have done it a little bit earlier, and kept on time, which unfortunately not really in our control as much, but I think we could have kept some more people. But like you said, I think we're going to have to get heavier on the promotion, and it should turn out to be a good series.
I'll always say, Aram, not to worry about it. It's the first race of the series. It's in a new time slot. As we said before, the International Tour is going to be completely different from trying to build another series as we have in the past on the North American Tour, because you can't count on the same driver base to fill it. And I think that's something that it's going to take time. I have no doubt that it will, however, eventually take off. The time issues today had to do with the online rooms. There wasn't much we can do about that. We'll discuss that in the officials meetings this week. But it was the first race. There was some good racing out there. I do think from tech testing myself that the rain and the live track package in this game is excellent. These cars are definitely drivable in the wet here. These cars are difficult, and anybody watching, I'll say the same thing for those who complain about the spec package or what they're dealing with, is that a poor craftsman blames his tools, because every one of us is driving the same car. If a car has a terrible push, if it's terribly loose, everybody has it. The officials will tech test it and try to get a package together so that the car is a little more stable. But at the end of the day, everyone's driving it. So, nobody's got an unfair advantage. But really, for the first one, I'd say bravo for getting it done. Why don't we, if you can get these guys off the track, you can get Sir Race-A-Lot in here for a race winners interview, if his mic will work. I'm going to turn it over to Aram and Twindy here for a moment. Actually, we're going to have to skip the race interview because of time constraints, and I'm going to have to sign it off here. We'll get to Sir Race-A-Lot later on in the proceedings today, but I'm going to go ahead and sign it off here. On behalf of Twindy and Aram Origins, this is Carlin Hicks. And thanks for coming out to the Monaco Grand Prix. We'll see you here in just a couple of hours at the National 300.